Hello, this is Orangesherbet, and today on this program that we call the Bikecast, I don't even know what we're going to be calling it in the future, but for right now, it's called the Bikecast. It's a podcast thing that I do. I talk over a bike ride that I did recently, and I either tell a story, I talk about a specific topic, or we do a question and answer kind of thing. So today on the program, we're talking about food and my opinions. And today I have a special guest. I have Oscar, aka Mr. Niceguy.
Hello.
Hello. And specifically the paleo diet and when I started that. So I'll get into that. And if you don't know anything about the paleo diet, I'm going to provide some links about it, what it entails. I'll show you the website that I found when I first started. The basis of the paleo diet is that you eat like a caveman. So you eat everything that a caveman would eat. So back in the day, BC, cavemen used to forage and hunt, and they were very fit, and they would eat, wild animals, and they would eat berries and whatever else they could find. And in the modern diet, we've become very efficient with foods that we make. We're very good at it, and in North America in particular, food is in abundance, so there's lots of it to eat. You can find it anywhere. It's very inexpensive, but grains were not part of that diet. So that's really a sticking point for paleo. Is it's gluten-free, it's low sugar, and it's a lot of protein and not a lot of carbs. So on a given day, how much bread do you eat, Oscar?
Probably about a slice or two. I believe rice is also considered in that same group, but I guess I would eat that every day. A good cup or two.
Bread, cereal, rice, beans, all that stuff is out for me.
Yeesh.
Yeah, it's
those kinds of things are really like a staple in Hispanic food, which my mom cooks all the time. So
it was a huge adjustment for me. If you think about all the foods that have some sort of flour or a sandwich, you can have a gluten-free bread. It's not the same, but it does exist. Paleo, though, a lot of the gluten-free breads use rice flour, and paleo doesn't include that either. I'm kind of a hybrid for what foods I eat, but I just tell you why I don't. I was very unhealthy up until about a year ago. I mean, I ate what I wanted to eat when I was younger, but when I got to be about 22, 23 years old, my metabolism started slowing down. I started putting on weight, and I just never really, I would lose it and I would gain it back. I would lose it. And last year I switched to paleo because a lot of the things that they said made sense. I guess when I read on this website, our bodies just want to heal, and a lot of the things that we put into them prevent that from happening. They actually create inflammation within our bodies. I was gonna say cells, and then I was like, well, I don't want to sound like an idiot, so I'm just gonna speak in general terms. But all this refined sugar and all of this enriched flour and all this stuff, it's really not. Our bodies process things differently. So if you put something in that's natural, let's say you eat an apple or a piece of broccoli, your body's going to break that down naturally. But if you drink a can of soda, it's not going to know what the hell to do with it. It's going to spike your insulin levels, and it's going to take the sugars and store them as fat. Now, everyone's body reacts differently to these processes, but generally it's not a good thing to be storing all of that fat. It's not good for your heart either. But it's tough for a lot of people to go gluten-free, but it's true that probably there's a good portion, I don't want to say specific statistics, but there's probably, less than half, but somewhere 30 to 40% of people don't process glutens properly, or like our bodies don't break them down properly. And a good 60% of people don't break down dairy products naturally either, so like milk and that sort of thing. People you don't really think about what you're eating, but your body is telling you something. Like if you're in pain, like if your skin is actually an organ, so if your skin is not in good shape, or you're breaking out and that sort of thing, it's your body's telling you that something's wrong.
Yeah, that's one of the more like common things you'd hear. People like eat and get heartburn, and in the more serious cases you get like ulcers and stuff. And personally, I do not process milk and dairy products very well either. So
yeah. I've found that almond milk and coconut milk, those sorts of things, are actually pretty good. I've gotten used to it. The only thing that I run into is when there's like recipes that have been around forever and they require milk. When you substitute, it doesn't really transfer over the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about when you go to the grocery store, what's good and what's not. I mean, if you go there and go down the can, let's say you go down the canned food aisle, you pick up a can and you look at the label. Let's say the thing that I look for, the example I always have is like the pasta sauce. If you look on there, you'd be surprised. High fructose corn syrup right on there. That's one of the worst things you can find in processed food. But there's a lot of sneaky things that people don't know on the label because they get disguised.
Like what?
Artificial flavoring, caramel color, hydrolyzed plant protein, modified food starch. A lot of these things can be disguised as MSG, gluten, that sort of thing. I mean, it can be, if it doesn't say gluten-free on it, it's not. And if it doesn't say MSG-free, chances are it has it, because these food companies are corporations, and their job is to affect the bottom line. And they want you to come back and purchase the product. So it goes as far as the label on the outside being attractive, the product inside looking attractive, and you eating it and getting that sensation of this tastes good, looks good, and I want this. That's, it goes there's a lot that goes into processed food, and how the company, how far they go to make you want to buy it again. Because foods nowadays, if you look at, let's say, a Twinkie, it's made to look a certain way. It's not made to satisfy your nutritional needs per se, right? Yeah, so any of these processed foods are really made to look good and to taste good, but they're not necessarily good for you. And I think that's pretty obvious, but I think a lot of people forget that in their daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the store, they pick up I don't even know what people buy. Like if they'll buy, let's say they buy like a bag of chicken nuggets, and they think, oh well, it's chicken, it's somewhat healthy for me. Well, there's a lot in there you probably don't want to know about. But if you were to go to the store and you're you're on a paleo diet, there's not a lot in the middle aisles that you can buy. There's a saying that you stick to the outsides of the store because you got the produce department on one side, and on the back you've got the meat department, and then you've maybe got, I don't even know what besides that you'd be able to do, some frozen foods. When you go
for someone like me,
yeah, go ahead.
For someone like me, usually it's the items that are like the quickest to make, honestly, and so we end up getting a lot of frozen food, and it's mostly due to the fact that we typically don't have too much time to just like cook every meal and like prepare for all of us,
I like to just keep it simple. Sometimes I'll even buy the chicken that's already cooked from the deli. It's like a pack of baked chicken, which I know I'll like peel the skin off of it. I won't eat the skin, and I know there's probably some stuff in the seasoning that's maybe not the healthiest, and there is some added fat there. But then I'll go to the meat department. I'll see what's on sale. I buy a lot of clearance meat, like stuff that's marked down, and I'll just cook it that night. I use the Foreman grill a lot. And then I'll go and buy 2 dozen eggs. I'll buy 2 half gallons of almond milk, and then I'll get some frozen veggies, and then I'll get either some dried fruit that's not too... There's a lot of dried fruit that has added sugar. Dried prunes, which makes me sound like an old man, but I like those. And I buy a lot of bananas, because with bananas and eggs, I mash up a banana, mix it with an egg. I'll put some flaxseed meal with that, and it makes a really good like banana pancake. And I make those a lot. That, and I'll get some stuff to make some paleo bread, because it's just tough to get away from the bread.
You just you make the bread from scratch?
Yeah, I have a bread machine in there. I have a recipe. Mix all the stuff together, and it makes a pretty good loaf of bread. And then I always have honey, and that's what I have for my sweetener. Honey and stevia, which is a plant extract.
That's cool.
This other thing, I was just gonna say. Man, lost my train of thought.
You were talking about keeping it simple.
Yeah, keeping it simple. Let me refer back to this site I was reading. I was kind of like blown away when I heard about all this, because I thought, oh great, another diet. A lot of these diets aren't really helpful to you. They're helpful in the short term. Let's say that you cut back on a certain item. You say, well, I'm going to cut out fast food and soda temporarily. Well, that's going to help you out for a little bit, but really you're just withholding yourself from what your normal habits are, and then once you go back, you're just going to gain the weight back, and you're going to go back to the way you were. You really have to think about...
Well, yeah, that's how diets work. You got to stick to them.
Yeah. It's but a lot of times they're very restrictive, and they don't necessarily create a real change in your life. It's just a matter of withholding you for a certain amount of time, and you're going to get sick of it because you're going to be eating the same crap over and over again. And I remember what I was thinking of is the mindset that people have about fat content and products. and how they think that fat makes you fat, and that's not necessarily the truth. Your body processes fat differently than it does these other things that people are ingesting, such as, mass amounts of gluten and carbs and all this stuff. Your body breaks that stuff down completely differently. If you remember, the Atkins diet was really popular for a while. That, you could eat bacon, you could eat all this protein, but no carbs. But that wasn't good either. You got to have some carbs, but the carbs that you want to have are carbs from things like sweet potatoes, fruits, veggies, that sort of thing. Anything else is going to be tough. And people have different mindsets. I'm not an expert on anything, but what's worked for me is sweet potatoes and fruit and some dried fruits. And that's been good for me. It's made me feel a lot better. It's kind of changed. I went through a pretty big transformation myself, and I've been able to keep it going. And the food is very satisfying. And once you get away from the refined sugars and things that are just loaded with this high fructose corn syrup and all this stuff, when you go back and eat something that's naturally sweet, like a pineapple or something, it tastes a lot better. Like you're conditioned to things being sweet all of the time. It's like being high off of a drug. Once you're high once, and it takes, you're always searching for that high again, but you never get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're conditioned to that level of sweetness. But once you're about 2 or 3 weeks of staying away from the refined sugars and that, you'll notice a big change. But, yeah, people have a bad opinion on what, when you read a nutritional label, people right away they look at the fat content like, oh, that's high fat, I shouldn't be eating that.
Or calories.
But really, or calories, yeah. I don't personally count calories. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I think you should eat what's right. Obviously, like portion size and that, but calories themselves, yeah, you need to. Calories are what fuel you, but you shouldn't be completely dependent on counting calories.
Mm-hmm. Unless
you're an athlete or something, you have your nutrition down to a science. I don't agree with that. That's not what works for me. And I'm an idiot when it comes to a lot of things, but I think I've got a bit of this food business figured out. And I love to eat. I eat actually quite a bit, but yeah, it's rewarding to be healthy. It's affected my hair health quite a bit. My hair health. I said hair health, heart health. That's why one take. The one take is a good method, because I just said hair health. Well, there you go.
I was about to make a quick little joke there about that, but I'll let it go then.
You gonna let me go? You gonna let me get away with it?
No, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious though, like, you also combine this with a lot of exercise too.
Yeah, and you have to eat, like, the basis of if you're working out and that, obviously you have to increase your food intake. But really, I work out so I can eat. That's how I justify it. I eat. I usually have eggs, or I make those banana pancakes in the morning, and then depending on if I'm working, I have a light lunch. If I'm not working, I'll have a snack, and I'll go work out, and then I'll have like a big meal, and then I'll have a snack later on at night. That's how I do it, because with my gaming and all of that, a lot of times I don't eat during that time period if I'm streaming, which I should, but it's just how I do it.
We can all watch you eat. It's okay.
You know what you eat. I think that so overall, do you think that any of the information that you learn through that, do you think any of that would transfer into your diet, or do you think you'd consider changing anything for yourself?
Personally, probably not. Well, I mean, not the idea, like, the problem with me is that pretty much the food intake is not really a choice of mine. It's whatever is bought and brought here, you know. If I were to do it myself, I guess I would more or less cut back, especially on the uh, frozen foods, and try to cook at least something for myself.
Yeah. If I was to recommend for anybody change something, just cut out soda and fast food. Those are the two big things. And if you smoke cigarettes, cut that shit out. You're gonna kill yourself. Seriously. But I think to wrap it up, the basis of what I was talking about and what is if your health is declining, if you're looking for some way to boost your energy and to be healthier, the paleo lifestyle is something to look into. And even in what somebody said in one of the documentaries that I watched is, if you cut out the bad stuff just a little bit at a time, the good stuff will fill in the gaps, because the more raw, the more natural foods that you eat, the better off you're going to be, in my opinion. So it's okay to do things in moderation, but people shouldn't depend on processed food and things like cereal and I don't know, burgers from McDonald's to fill in their diet. It's just not a good way to be. And just know that the food corporations out there, they're not out there to keep you healthy. They're out there to keep you addicted to their products, and they want you to stay in this trance, this food trance of like, okay, well, I'm out of I don't even know. I'm trying to think of the worst cereal you can get. Probably be like
Lucky Charms
or something. Lucky Charms. I'm out of Lucky Charms. If I don't have that, I'm fucked. That's exactly what they want. So, and I have a confession to make. I actually eat grape nuts, and I have some. So I'm not like a super paleo guy. I get like I'm addicted to some stuff like that. So like occasionally I'll buy a couple boxes of them and I'll eat them. And that's like all that is ground up like wheat and barley, and they add a little bit of like water and salt to it, and then bake it, and it's in these little nuggets. That's all it is. It's quote unquote natural, but not really part of what I personally should be eating. I guess I'm fortunate not to have celiacs or have a predisposition for being what's the lactose intolerant? Yeah, I'm lucky that I'm not.
Yeah.
That. But I had I still have it. The sinus condition that I have, it's a cyst in my maxillary sinus that it's kind of gross, but it drains mucus in the back of my throat, and when I have dairy products, it's actually makes it worse. So me staying away from dairy is a good thing.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts or like what you take from all of this?
I personally think that when it comes to diets, you also have to change a little bit more of the lifestyle as well. Typical people like us are sitting around doing nothing all day. It helps to, do walks or bike ride like you do to really help change how you feel.
Yeah, if you want to make a change, you have to change everything. Like, you have to have the mindset that I'm going to be a healthy person, or I'm not. And you're fooling yourself if you think that I'm going to go on this South Beach diet or this, I don't even know, what do they call it? I'm going to do P90X. Well, that's great, but yeah, you're not going to look like the person in the video unless you have some insane metabolism. You could look like that and still be unhealthy. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. And I guess I'll end this by saying that these are my opinions, and I am not an expert. This is stuff that I've formulated opinions on from just my own research. So I guess I'm going to provide links down in the description below of all the information that I can think of that people would want to read. And there's a good documentary on Netflix you can watch. It's called Hungry for Change, right?
I think it was called Food Matters.
Food Matters. Okay. Something like that. I'll look it up and I'll provide that in there as well. And thank you to Oscar for joining me for this, albeit kind of broken podcast thing, but hopefully it was entertaining. If you guys have any comments on how I can improve this format, or if you have a topic you'd want to discuss or any questions, provide that in a comment down below. You can like, favorite the video, subscribe, all that business. I'll also provide a link for my live stream on Twitch TV. You check that out, and I hope everyone has a great day. And this is where Oscar says bye.
Bye.